The chapter begins with Offred and the others of the household waiting for the commander in the sitting room the night of the ceremony. This room is considered to be Serena Joy's. She doesn't have much power over the house because she's unessential, seeing as the handmaids give birth and the Marthas clean. In Gilead, there's a lot of emphasis on gender roles. The men have the power, while the women take care of the house and have babies. But Serena Joy isn't able to fulfill her role as a woman because every job is taken by someone else. She therefore feels useless. She feels like she has no control over the things that go on around her, so she really enjoys having control over her room. So when the commander knocks on the door, she enjoys to keep him waiting, but in this scene, he doesn't wait, showing who has the real power. When he enters, we can see the different positions where Offred and the others are situated, which each represent their roles in the household. Their colors are also very important to represent which roles in society they have, and we use these colors throughout the book to distinguish them. Whenever we heard about the commander earlier in the book, he seemed like this powerful, strict, controlling type of guy. But when we finally meet him, we see he's a lot more human than we thought, and than Offred had described. When she describes him, she constantly changes her view of him. First as a museum guard, then as a Midwestern bank president, then by comparing his mustache to a vodka commercial because of its shininess, and finally as a shoemaker. Offred is very suspicious of him and is constantly watching him to see if he does anything wrong and anything he's not supposed to do. But in reality, we see that Offred doesn't know anything about him. She begins to think about what life must be like for men, with all the pressure on them. Men are the ones with the power in the society, and women depend on them. So if they make any mistake, women are there to criticize them. Based on how we see the commander acting, he seems not to know what to do with the power that was thrown upon him when the society was created. He seems almost awkward and embarrassed by having so much power over everyone else in the room. He enters the room and sees people waiting for him, and it makes him responsible for them. The commander begins to read the Bible, which is a ritual on the night of the ceremony. Offred seems almost jealous of how he is permitted to read, but we see that the passages read are those that relate to their society, passages about replenishing the earth. But Offred notices that some of the passages have been changed and even made up, showing just how corrupt this society is. Because the government is a theocracy, rules and ideas from the Bible have a lot to do with the laws, so in this society they only include those that can be used to control the public in the way they want. The handmaids were drilled with ideas and stories about birth and being silent, but never with ideas of freedom, like stories from Exodus. By not letting women even read the holiest of books, the society is able to keep them under control. The commander reading to them reminded Offred of an earlier time when they used to listen to the Bible while in training to be a handmaid. She mentions how she remembers eating porridge at this moment. The ants were feeding them food at the same time they were feeding them information, and in the same way, only the necessary and without choice. During the whole book, including this chapter, Offred sexualizes many things. In this case, she refers to herself as a naughty puss. This fixation on sex comes from the dual idea that exists within a society where sex is both a shameful act, but also what gives the handmaids worth in this society and keeps them from becoming unwomen. This dual idea could be a commentary on how in our society women are bombarded by sexual images about how they should look and then shamed for being sexual beings. Offred draws her spirit of rebellion from Moira. Moira is very important to Offred because she feels the need for friendship and human connection. For this reason, when she reads the phrase carved into wood on her room of "Nolite te bastardes cargundurum," she imagines the face of the girl writing it as Moira. Although Offred does not know yet this phrase means "don't let the bastards get you down," she senses the rebellion in this phrase and prays to it, because this idea and Moira are the most powerful things Offred mentions how the commander notices Serena crying and then ceases to notice. This is a reflection on how the society works. They do not ignore suffering by saying it's good. They just completely do not acknowledge its existence. This speaks to the theme of language and power. If the people don't know it,
they won't suffer from it and therefore will obey.
When Moira rebels, they beat her feet, and if she were to rebel again, they would hurt her hands. Offred mentions how the ants used to tell them that hands and feet are not essential for handmaids and therefore don't matter. However, Offred describes Moira's feet as looking like lungs. Lungs are essential organs, so what Offred is implying is that maybe the society views handmaids' feet as useless, but to them, they are essential. Chapter 16 is the first time we get to experience the ceremony. We've heard about it many times, however, we've never been able to see the process of it until now. The chapter starts out with Offred explaining the decor of the room. All throughout the book, we have seen this theme of fertility and its importance in the society. In the room, Offred talks about the flowers and how the curtains have been shaped to have a bump in it to represent fertility and pregnancy. The ceremony is a procedure. Everyone is following rules and regulations, even the commander. It's made very clear from Offred's point of view that she's not comfortable, which we see by looking at the temperature of the room and how mechanical the event is. It's cold in the room, and everyone is fully clothed in his or her specific uniforms. During the ceremony, everyone has a specific arrangement. Serena Joy is sitting on the bed with Offred lying between her legs as if Offred were an extension of Serena Joy. This arrangement makes the ceremony more personal between the commander and Serena Joy because it's as if Offred isn't there. The fact that Serena Joy takes part in the ceremony gives her power and control over the situation. Serena Joy holds on to Offred's hands and squeezes them really hard, causing her rings to cut into Offred, which Offred notes as being a form of revenge. This revenge could be because Serena Joy is jealous. She's jealous because she's not able to take part in having her own child. Offred is taking over her role as a wife and as a woman, and she therefore envies Offred and her fertility. Offred explains the ceremony as a job. She tries to think of it as something that must be done in order to fulfill her role in society. She then goes on to explain what the meaning of sex has become. She goes into different word choice and tries to explain what it is today. She chooses not to call it rape, because it's not. She chose that this is happening. In a way, she's blaming herself, the same way Janine blamed herself for being raped. Offred disconnects her mind from her body during the ceremony and starts thinking of England. She distracts herself by thinking about other things and tries to imagine ways the situation could be worse. Not only is Offred detached, but the commander is too. He starts humming during the ceremony to distract himself and disconnect his mind from his body. There is no kissing between the commander and Offred, and this is what makes the job bearable. When the ceremony is done, Offred sees the humor and irony in it all and tries not to laugh at the fact that the commander cares so much about closing the door. However, Serena Joy sees no humor, and she kicks Offred out of the room, even though Offred should have stayed in the room for a little while longer to increase her chances of getting pregnant. Once all of this is over, Offred leaves us with the question of, is this worse for Serena Joy or for Offred?